Well, I'd like to take this moment to thank well, first of all, I want to take this moment to thank God for allowing me to be where I need to be. I never start without thanking Him. And secondly, thank you for taking time from your busy schedules to come here to listen to our mayor and find out what his agenda is for the next 4 years. Before we get started, we want to make sure everyone knows where the restrooms are. And if you didn't have time to get something to eat because you left work and was coming here, we do have some barbecue pork sandwiches. We have chicken sandwiches. We have Coke, Sprite, water, and chips to hold you off till you get home to your wonderful meals that are waiting for you. Want to take a moment to introduce my mayor. To me, in my eyes, he's a great person. He's my friend and someone that I admire and look up to. We spent 20 years on council together before he became my mayor. He is our 70th mayor in Columbus, Georgia. And he has a wonderful, beautiful wife, Karen. I don't know if Karen's here. Karen's in the back, our first lady. And right away, she's babysitting. A good grandma, good grandma. So I'm not going to take a lot of time. I want to just take this privilege to say to you, I want to introduce you, my friend, my mayor, and my colleague, Mayor Skip Henderson. Is that short enough?
Thank you, Mimi. Thank you. I tell you, Councilor Woodson does an amazing job for the folks in her district, and she really focuses on this district, but she also keeps an eye on the overall health and direction of our community, so I thank her for what she does. Also want to recognize Councilor House. John House is here. And I was looking around to see if any of the other councilors made it. Oh, yes, Councilor Crabb back there holding the wall up. We thank Charmaine for being here. We also have our sheriff here. Sheriff Donna Tompkins is here. Y'all welcome her. And I'm going to let our city manager tell you about some of the other departments that are here. But let me tell you, this is really special for me because when we had done the Let's Talk with the Mayors in the past, I felt like it gave the citizens of this community a chance to interact with their elected officials and also with some of the department heads and some of the departments that provide the services that the citizens use. So we're focused on trying to make sure that we get your questions answered, but we wanted to rebrand this. So instead of Let's Talk with the Mayor, we wanted to focus on you. So this is now Let's Talk Columbus, because what we're interested in is the kind of Columbus that you want to live in. And we've got to hear your input, and we've got to get your ideas, and we want to try to answer your questions as well. So what I will ask you to do, though, since we've got a lot of people here, and I know there's folks that have a lot of questions, a lot of issues they want to bring up, I'll ask you to be respectful of one another so that you hold your comments to about 3 or 4 minutes so that we can get to as many as possible. We're happy to circle back to you once we get through everybody that has something that they'd like to say. And by the way, if you don't get to adequately express your thoughts to the mayor, he will stay here as long as you need him to. So if you want to continue our discussion after this session is over, and we will time it out at 7:30, stick around and I'll try to answer any of your questions that I can. I will tell you, we've been in office 77 days, I think. So it's highly likely you're going to ask some stuff that I'm going to say, Mr. City Manager, and try to get him to help me with getting to the right department head so that we can get your questions answered. But we will make sure that we get your question answered, or we will get your name and number and we will get an answer for you. And speaking of our city manager, I'm going to bring him up. I tell you, I can't imagine coming into the job as mayor, even with the experience that I was fortunate enough to have as a councilor for several years, without having somebody that you could count on and rely on to help do a lot of the heavy lifting. And I'm so fortunate that Isaiah Hughley is our city manager. I'm going to ask him to come up and say a few words. Our city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Trust me, the mayor has been on ground 77 days, but he's been really, really working. He knows this government. He's been around for 21 or so years, and he knows where he's going and what he's doing and where he wants to go. I'm going to, Mr. Mayor, just introduce department heads very quickly, and And I'm going to ask them to kind of just walk through so that you see their, I want you to see their face and know who they are. We've got both deputy city managers here, Lisa Goodwin, if you come through, and Pam Hodge. These are the two deputy city managers. And I want to thank them for being here. And department heads, would you just come on? We've got elected officials, Donna Tompkins here. We've got our new tax assessor, Suzanne Whitenhouse. We've got our police chief here, Chief Boren. And so really, really quickly, I want you to see the team. I am going to start on this side. We've got Elections and Registrations Director, Nancy Boren. We've got our Trade Center Director, Haley Henderson Tillery. And we've got our Internal Auditor, John Redmond. We've got our Tax Assessor, Suzanne Whitenhouse. We've got, again, Deputy City Manager Hodge, Deputy City Manager Goodwin. We've got our Public Works Director, Pat Beegler. We've got our Civic Center Director, John Dorman. We've got Rick Jones, our Planning Director, Laura Johnson. She is over Community Development Block Grant, Home Program, Community Reinvestment. Donna Newman, our City Engineer. Chief Jeff Meyer, Fire EMS. Rosa Gilliard Evans, Metra. We've got Chief Dwight Hemrick, the Warden, Aretha Hollowell, HR Director, Howard Pendleton, Workforce Investment, and our awesome Chief, Rick Boren. We got John Hutchison. He's wearing the Tennessee like he's proud. John Hutchison over Inspections and Codes. And then we have got our Sheriff, Donna Tompkins. And this is part of the team. And I see in the audience, Norm Easterbrook. Thank you for being here. And any other elected officials, the mayor has already talked about the council, but wanted you to know that this is a great team, a dynamic team. We are here working for you each and every day. And the mayor, we've got an experienced mayor, and of course the mayor's chief of staff, Richard Bishop, and Diane Carnes. Mayor's team, raise your hand, come up. Want to see you. Alexis, yeah, come on. Yes, a great team. So thank you, all of the department heads, elected officials, for being here. And Mr. Mayor, I'm going to turn it back to you. This is your team, Mayor.
Thank you. You can see why I didn't try to name all of the department heads that were here. If the city manager couldn't get it right, I wasn't going to. So, all right, so let's get started. Instead of us standing up here talking about what we see, we want to hear from you. So we will get a microphone to you and let you ask your question. And again, the only thing we ask that you try to hold it to about 3 or 4 minutes. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Hello.
Wait, just.
I don't need a microphone. Hello?
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Okay.
We're being broadcast.
How am I going to hold this paper in the microphone? Can you hold it? Okay.
And you want to give us your name?
Okay. Hello, my name is Mrs. Carolyn. I am a graduate of Carver High School, 1971. I am a Christian, a registered voter. I voted for you, and I am a community activist. I have lived in Columbus all my life. I am here to ask you, as mayor, to help restore my dignity. I love wigs. I have indeed invested hundreds of dollars in wigs. It is 2019, and I, as a respectable citizen, should not have to forfeit my dignity every time I purchase a wig. I should not be told that after making a purchase that I have to go elsewhere to pee. Inspections and codes and the city manager's office has been absolutely no help. There should be a minimal penalty of $150 for the wig stores. I have thought about protesting, but I am pretty sure that other patrons would just walk past me. These penalties, if you dare to get involved, could be used towards rebuilding the government center. I think I was to the point. Did you understand anything I said?
Yes, ma'am. I got everything you said, and thank you for your comments. Only thing I can tell you is that we'll take a look at it from a local ordinance standpoint. I don't think there's anything in the state statutes that would cover that.
Yes, it is.
But we will look into it. We'll get with our city attorney and we'll look into it for you. Okay? But thank you.
I'll be coming back again if it's not resolved.
That'll be good. In fact, we'll get your number, Mr. Bishop. We'll get you.
I know them all. I'll call them.
You know. Okay.
Yes,
All right. Well, that'll save us the time.
I know them.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Carolyn.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Well, if you raise your hand, we'll try to get you, and you could line up at the microphones. That might be an easier way to do it, and that way we'll just alternate between the two microphones.
You were next? No, somebody raised their hand.
I think Ms. Elamine was next.
Oh.
Yeah, I won't be too good standing up at the microphone.
Oh, you're fine.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. At the city council meeting on Tuesday evening, what was stunning was a report from Ms. Hollowell about the pension situation, and then in addition to that, the critical vacancies. In 2012, I watched you all deliberate about that pension plan, and it was rather shocking to me because I have defined benefit pension plans, and every year the pension plan notifies us about how well the pension plan is funded. Well, I discovered in 2012 that you have no such practice, which is unfair to the employees. After a lot of digging in 2012, it was determined that the pension plan was only 72% funded. When the pension plan falls down to 65% funded in the private sector, that pension FDIC corporation takes over the pension plans in the private sector. So when Mayor Tomlinson bragged about the pension plan being at 80% in 2014, everybody should know that's not good. So it really should be clear and fully disclosed exactly how underfunded the pension plan is, especially now that we know that people who were early retirees were paid more than they deserve for over 20 years. And what is baffling to me is that when you were doing all that research in 2012, that nobody discovered that you were overpaying the early retirees. You know, I was a union organizer, and so this really gets me because the employees are not being done fairly. They're paying 4% of their wages into the underfunded pension plan. And if they're newer employees, they're paying 8% of their wages into the pension plan. That's a lot for a pension plan that is not really clear whether it's solvent or not.
Ms. Elamine, why don't you let us address some of the questions that you've asked?
Well, yeah, but I want to get it all out so that everybody understands the exact situation. It's only going to take me another 60 seconds to say that what you promised to do in 2012 was to make this plan completely solvent in 15 years by the year 2027, when most of you will be gone. The previous mayor who was part of that is already gone. So I just want the community to know that the employees have a pension plan that needs to be clarified and made completely transparent about the state of it. That's what I want everybody to know. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Pam, can you, where are we right now? I don't, is Angelica here? I was just, because we're at about.
We do disclose each year as part of our annual financial report. There is a note disclosure that talks about the funding of the pension plan, so it is reported annually. There is a pension board that meets monthly that monitors the pension plan. The funding ratio that we have, there is a plan for the unfunded liability portion, and that is part of the plan to become 100% funded. As far as pension plans go for governments, 80% is well above where most pension plans for governments are, so we are in good shape. We have significant assets to the pension plan that are reported annually. Any specifics, we can provide that information.
Thank you. And we do have a pension board that meets on a regular basis and does discuss that, and we do look after it to make sure that we're continuing to address with funding each fiscal year so that we get closer to that 100%. Yes, ma'am, you were next.
Hi, how you doing? My name is Maria Sam. My mother just retired from head of headquarters for HUD for the White House, but she got promoted from Columbus, Georgia. I've been here since '84, and basically before she got promoted, she was involved in School of Americas, EEO, just all kinds of different things. Okay. It's more of a question, or I'm just letting you know that I had been back in town since December, the end of 2017, okay? I've still always come in and out of Columbus, no matter what her position was. And I know zero tolerance just happened, okay? There's a lot of paperwork that I don't know who, what, when, where, but they changed a lot of paperwork that is really breaking slavery laws. I know you might not know because you've just been elected, and I just got finished going through this with Los Angeles because I was going back and forth from Los Angeles. And then while I was there, all kinds of, but there were still people after Trump had called off zero tolerance, in a way, kids coming up missing, all kinds of things, and kids being caught. Okay, but there's a lot of paperwork here that is not right. When in 2014, the DFAC Center was shut down due to the fact that employees were accepting people who are not supposed to be getting benefits and not accepting people who were supposed to be getting benefits. Now, I don't know what happened with that, but they were shut down when I was in Los Angeles. When I'm coming back in town, they're back open. Paperwork is not right. For instance, you cannot say Black, African American, but when it comes to the Caucasians, just white, that's it. My paperwork has been falsified. Since I've been back, I've been discriminated even by national security, okay? And I'm gonna do the steps that I need to do to take care of the situations, but I'm just letting you know, who can I talk to, or letting you know as the new mayor that there is a lot of paperwork that is breaking slavery acts right now. And from what I've seen, some people work here since last year, and some people don't even work there no more, but the paperwork is still there. So I was wondering, what can I do as a Hispanic? I'm Ecuadorian and Puerto Rican. I was born here. My family's from their country, but when they came here, they served. I have high-ranked family members. Even down to my stepmother was the treasurer of Puerto Rico since '99-2000. So that really hit me when I come back to my hometown and I'm being discriminated on.
Well, I'll tell you what we'll do. If you'll give your name and number to Mr. Bishop so that we can get in touch with you, and we'll see if we can find out what you're talking about with some of the paperwork not being accurate and somebody out actually falsifying. We'll see if we can help you get to the bottom of that. Do we have? Okay. Yes. Hey.
Anyway, you mentioned about the summer house program, and for 5 years while I was at Parks and Rec, at my center, I would load my car up and bring the children down to the Labor Department and sign them all up, and each one of them got a job. That kept them out of trouble. We found ways to feed them, entertain them, and bring them on field trips and all that, and somehow the Parks and Rec has cut the budget to the point where there's no activity, there's not a lot of children that visit the rec. And then the other part is the response to a shooting that happened to me last Thursday by the same rec that I changed the name to Michael Fruit Ellen. And it took the police 20 minutes to get there, as well as 20 questions from 911. All I know was that guy, the children, no older than 15, had guns, 4 of them. And I didn't take time to look at them and see who it was. But it's the response time and the 20 question time that it really bothered me. And then when I got a copy of the police report, it was not full. And the response time, again, for the police to come over there, and you know that area has a high crime volume. And in any low-income area that has a high crime volume, I would think that it would be priority that you get there as soon as possible, because those were children on that basketball court, and those children with the guns could have shot one of those kids within the split second. And matter of fact, the next day you had a shooting. And I just want to know, what are you going to do about Parks and Rec getting back where they were and pulling these kids out the street and giving them something to do besides destroying Columbus? Because they're our leaders, our future leaders.
No,
and we need them to lead Columbus.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. A couple of issues there. One, we will check into the issue with 911 and try to, because they have tapes of everything, and we'll try to see if we can't get you some answers, and we'll check into that. And if there was a report of shots fired, I feel certain that the police responded ASAP. I will tell you that I agree with you with us needing to have additional activities for our young people. Now, there's two things that our office is focusing on right now as it applies to the crime rate. One of them is we're working with the Mayor's Commission on Reentry to try to get felons that are released from prison integrated very, very quickly back into a place to live and a place to work. Because if we don't, then they're going to go right back to the same neighborhood committing the same crimes. So that's one piece of the puzzle. The other is we're trying to come up with ways to be able to do exactly what you talked about, and that's keep some of our young people occupied, giving them alternatives that are a more productive alternative than what they're finding on their own. A couple things we're doing. You mentioned the summer the summer youth work program. We've met with Howard Pendleton from the workforce investment area and talked to Howard about the possibility of bringing that back. A lot of the money, as he explained to us, is pretty much earmarked for ages, I think it's 18 to 24, Howard. And so that's not going to the young people that we want it to go to. So we're going to start a pilot program. We'll start small. We'll probably focus on getting jobs for these young people within the city government. And we want to pay them a wage that is going to be strong enough that they're going to be interested in working for that money. Not a minimum wage job. We're looking at doing something for around $10 an hour. We've got to find a way to give these young people a little bit more pride in holding a check that they've actually worked for. But that doesn't address some of the other issues we have with the younger children. And face it, right now, if we don't get involved with these kids at the age of 9, 10, 11, 12, we're starting behind the curve when we're trying to help them. Last year, Parks and Rec had what they call a summer pass. They gave free or greatly discounted access to swimming pools and rec centers. We're going to enhance that. We're adding to that cultural centers as well. So hopefully we'll get some of the children that maybe have never been to the museum, never been to the River Center, never have been to the National Infantry Museum, give them an opportunity to go in these places for free, and we'll even let them use this ID as a bus pass to try to solve some of the issues with transportation of them getting there. We'll also we also hope that by doing this, it'll bring the parent to get a little bit more involved with the child during the summer months. Because if the child goes to the National Infantry Museum, for example, or the Columbus Museum, chances are the parent or a guardian is going to go with them. So I hear what you're saying. We are working aggressively and actively on ways to try to create more opportunities for our young people that are in a more positive vein. So I appreciate it, and we will get you an answer on the 911 issue. Yes, ma'am.
Green, and
Yes,
I am
ma'am.
concerned about the gang activity. I want to know, what are your 3 top priorities for the east side and south side of Columbus, and what are we going to do about the GD, Gangster Disciples?
Well, I actually talked with the Deputy Chief of Police just the other day about the gangs, and we were talking about the fact that it's difficult, and I don't want to speak for them, but what they relayed to me is that the same old ways of addressing them no longer work because of the change in dynamics of the gangs that we have in Columbus. So what they're doing is they've got an individual that focuses 100% of their time on using technology, using patterns, using data to try to identify ways to have an impact on these gangs. The top initiatives that we have for South and East Columbus is the same as we have across this community, because the crime in the community, it's one of those, and listen, I hate talking statistics, I really do, particularly when it comes to crime, because crime's a very emotional and a very raw issue that we deal with. But statistics are the only thing that we have to use to see which direction we're heading. Now, having said that, our violent crime is trending up over the past several years. But crime overall has trended down. So that means that what we have, statistically speaking, because it doesn't matter to somebody who's been held up or had a car broken into or a house broken into or somebody's pulled a gun on them. But we are making progress with the Part 1 crimes. We have to get back to providing and stopping the food supply for the gangs. And the only way I know to do that is to leverage some of the neighborhood organizations, to leverage some of the charitable and the faith-based organizations, and use tools like we're trying to do with the Summer Pass and with the Summer Youth Work Program to try to give the young people some alternative, so that they're not sitting around the house, they're not hanging out in the neighborhood, easy prey for some of these gangs that are trying to find kids that are in the juvenile age, so that if they get them to bust in a car and they take them home, if the police catch them, take them home, they go right back out the back door. So we've got to find ways to create alternative opportunities for these young people, and that's what we're working on with the 2 initiatives I mentioned, and we've got a couple of others that we're working on. We've talked to some of the youth organizations in town, the Girls Inc. and Boys and Girls Club. And we've also talked to the Muskogee County School District about creating some type of youth summit. It's in the planning stages. We don't really have a date, but what we'd like to do, the idea is bring teens together from all across the community, because I think it's important that when you have high schoolers from Spencer sitting across from the high schoolers from Columbus High, high schoolers from Kendrick sitting across from high schoolers from Brookstone. Because I think ultimately they're going to find they have some of the same challenges, some of the same fears, some of the same issues. And the idea is to get them together so that they can discuss it, not with somebody like me leading the discussion, not some 60-year-old guy that they can't relate to, but getting some of the young professionals. You know, the guys with the man buns that are over there, you know, running their own shop in Uptown, get them to facilitate it so that they'll open up and talk a little bit more. The only way we're going to stop those types of crimes is to catch them before they happen. And that means we've got to cut off the food supply. Yes, ma'am. Oh, thank you. Hey, Mama Love.
Hi, Mayor. I want to say to the young lady that just spoke, baby, I feel your pain, but God does too, okay? I'm not too happy because I reported to y'all when the police came in my house, had no warrant at all. Nothing was done about that. Then I let it go and I took your course for the police department. And, okay, graduation was in November. People got their certificate and the picture. You know when I got mine? When? After begging and begging, Captain Miles, I got mine late January. That was not right. Okay, I had a problem at my house. I called for you to come out. When they came out, I told about a problem that happened with somebody stealing some off of my property. I told the officer to please go down there and tell them not to set foot on my property no more. Matter of fact, I gave him a written letter that I wanted a written report filled out so I can come pick it up. When you check on hers, check on mine too. Because I done called back down there. They said wasn't nothing found, and they don't know about a police report. I'm very dissatisfied now with the police department. And I'm not talking behind your back. I'm talking to your face. I should have been informed. I should have been you don't come in my house without a warrant. And like I said, I told them. I'm told. Nothing was done. Okay? Now, the incident that I had, I gave you paper saying I wanted a police report to pick it up, and I called back down there, and nothing is there. I'm very disappointed. But let me tell you this. I love them still. I love you still.
Well, thank you, Mama Love. And we will check on that, too.
Okay, but this is another thing I came here about.
Okay.
Oh, I want to show people this, too. This is the truth. This is the truth. Same God made you, like the movie coming on. She said, the same God made you, made me. Yes, and that's the truth, baby. That's the truth.
Yes, ma'am.
But I want to tell you about this. I hope Columbus do something about this. People should have a background check that work in these places. I told you about Fort Benning, and that man came in there and talked about me like a dog in my kitchen. Okay? They should have a background check when they come into people's houses. Okay? The same thing happened with MediaCom. The man wanted to put a hole in my wall. I said, baby, how is this supposed to be done? He said, I'm supposed to go up in your attic and do it, but I ain't got time. And I said, baby, could you leave my house? He cursed me out all the way to the door. Then he called his friends before he left. And then he came back on my property. I'm coming back in there. I said, oh, no, you ain't get over me. He was bigger than me, but I didn't care because I had God on my side. Okay, this. Would you be nice enough to read that for me, Mayor?
I'd be happy to. It says, to Mayor Skip Henderson, City Council members, and all our representatives and the Governor of Georgia, question, can you make laws so we can choose our own cable company and our internet company no matter where we live? Let me know, please. I don't know that I can fix that, but I will make sure they get your message. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Oh, I will check on it. I think you're right. I agree with you. Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We have somebody else? While we're waiting for this question, let me make sure everybody knows Councilor Bruce Huff is here now as well. You'll welcome him. Thank you, Bruce. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Sharika Day, and my question, well, first statement is about how beautiful downtown Columbus is, how art and everything has enhanced that whole landscape, and so I want to commend you all for that. And I'm just wondering if there are other initiatives to further the arts beyond downtown Columbus, like South Side, East Side, just to bring more pride and culture to the city.
Absolutely. I would love to see that, and I think you are going to see. We've got a real kind of growing young art scene in Columbus, and right now I think it's been sort of centered in the uptown area, but it's starting to spread. So I certainly hope so. I think some of those murals are awesome. I think it adds vitality and life to the uptown area.
Hi everyone, my name is Alex Williams, and I had a quick question, well, more so of a mention. I wanted to mention to you guys that I feel like the library is a really great resource for a lot of things that we were talking about, how we were talking about the crime rate, and we were talking about the young kids not really having any activities. Well, when they get to a certain age, they're going to have volunteer hours. So at the library in particular, they can volunteer and we can help keep them busy. And we also have programs where the teenagers can actually come in and create their own program. In particular, I personally work at the Mildred L. Terry Public Library, which is right here on Veterans Parkway. My face probably looks kind of familiar to some of you guys. But I wanted to say that that is also a very fantastic resource. So if there is a way that you and the department could also partner with the library systems, everything's free, it's nonprofit, and so we want you guys to come in and we want the teens in particular, since we were talking a lot about the crime rate, to use us so that we can show them that education is really important.
I'm so glad you brought that up. And I'll publicly apologize, because we do talk about the libraries as being an opportunity for, as far as a place where young people can go. Because in addition to mentoring others and working there, there's so much, not just at Mildred Terry, but at the main library as well. I got to admit, I took a tour of it, and it's been a few years since I've had or used a library card. I've been in there 2 or 3 times since then. That place offers almost anything, and stuff online too. So absolutely, we need to make that a part of the summer pass so that we get folks into there. Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, sir. Welcome.
Trailer parks on Old Casino Road and Far Road, they've taken down the outside on all you can see the asbestos and the wood. What the city gonna do? That's just a sight. I never seen the one.
I could not agree with you more. We rode out there and looked, because I had heard about some of that. This was back when I think we were having some trouble with one of the trailer park owners. So we went out there and looked at it. Off Casita, Old Casita, Far Road, it's ridiculous. And I don't know how you can expect anybody to feel good about their community, about their neighborhood, or about themselves if they have to ride by that 3 or 4 times a day. So I'll tell you what we've done. I'm fighting to try to keep it in there, but it bothers us so badly. And John Hutchison does an amazing job of going out there and finding these properties, not just the trailer parks, but properties that are crime magnets. They've got a D sprayed on them for demolition. We've been giving them about $50,000 a year. That only tears down about 7 or 8 houses, I think. So this year, one of the things I put in there is I put $1 million into our budget to take down those trailer parks, tear down those dilapidated houses, and start trying to give the neighborhoods a visual sign that they're important and that we care about them. We're going to get rid of them. Yes, sir, back here.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor. My name is Cecil Haywood. My concern is the landlord-tenant situation. I know each time a landlord rents a house, he should have a certificate of occupancy. I think that's what they call it. But in between one person moving out and the next person moving in, there's no guarantee what the house is going to be like between that time. Are there any rules, or should there be any rules how often that house should be inspected over a period of time? Because the house could just keep going down, keep going down, keep going down after 10 tenants. My next question is, the rules on when a landlord fails to fix something, how often how fast should they come out and repair? I found out through inspections and codes that I think it's a little bit too long before the landlord is forced to come out and do anything. 3 or 4 days is a long time when you have a busted pipe. And I think that we should look into how often or how fast those things should be addressed, you know, as far as a landlord and a tenant. And those are my concerns.
I agree with you completely. And in fact, that's one of the things we are really focused on. That's why we put the money in the budget for tearing down some of these properties, is we really believe that affordable quality housing, not just affordable, but affordable quality housing, is one of the key indicators of whether or not you're going to have a successful education system, whether you're going to have low poverty, or whether you're going to have high crime. I'm going to ask our Director of Code Enforcement, John Hutchison, to talk about some of the requirements that exist now with the landlords.
Typically, somebody's got a broken window, broken thing like that, depending on what it is. Now, if you're lacking a utility, we give them 48 hours. We dealt with a couple of apartment complexes in Oakland Park that, remember, the water had been cut off or the power had been cut off. We only give them 48 hours because they've got to mobilize a crew to get out there and get to it. So we stay on top of those when it comes to utilities. If it comes to maintenance issues in the property, we do the 45-day letter. That's to give the owner enough time. Now, depending on what it is, there's currently a House bill that's coming through the state Senate that will actually give tenants more rights. So if tenants do have the ability, because some of them are afraid to come to us to tell us what's going on because they're afraid the landlord is going to do X, Y, and Z and kick them out. So the new House bill, I believe it's 346, that's coming. Hopefully it's being passed. They're deliberating it today. So if that comes through, tenants now have more power. So therefore, if something happens and then the landlord proceeds to want to evict them for X, Y, and Z, they'll have from what we gave them. We have them from what we gave them so that they can say, hey, I'm being kicked out, I'm being retaliated against, as opposed to, I just want basic living conditions. So hopefully that will pass, and if that passes, that law will be immediate. And so that'll help us a lot more because people will be a lot more proactive to tell us about what's going on.
That's a good point you brought up there. Do the landlord have any obligation to disclose to a tenant certain things about the house before you rent the house or let it go? Are they under any obligation?
A lot of those leases, that's on the tenant-owner relationship. If they decide to disclose it, they do, and that's what they agree to, that's in the lease. We don't get to that part until we start dealing with the complaint.
Thank you, John. I got to say that Mr. Hutchison has done an amazing job on helping us find ways that we can address some of the issues you're talking about. Because a lot of tenants don't have any idea what their rights are. So they just continue to pay that rent because they're afraid they're going to get evicted and they're afraid they're not going to be able to have a place to live if they complain too much. John's working on that. We're working locally with our ordinances, and he is keeping a close eye, as you could tell, on the bills that are being dropped in the legislature in Atlanta. It's a key focus for us. Yes.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nika. Mayor, you met me earlier this month at the Women's Empowerment.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm a CEO of Innovative Supplies. It's a manufacturing company.
Yes.
Here in Columbus, Georgia. What we do is we manufacture stationary notebooks, and I hire at-risk youth in the city to actually help me make the notebooks. And they also do the marketing for us, and they ship out the products all around the world. So we sold over 8,000 notebooks in our first 24 hours of launching the company. But what I wanted to say or pretty much ask is because I'm a disabled veteran coming from the military. I served 9 years. My parents served over 20 years apiece as well, so my whole family's military. I just wanted to know, does the city of Columbus have anything for veterans that are leaving the military, coming back to Columbus to establish entrepreneurship roots, but just don't really have like a setting or a background that's familiar to business ownership?
Well, first of all, thank you for your service and your sacrifice.
Thank you.
And let me say, yes, there are a number of resources available. One of the things we are really trying to look at from the mayor's office, and I know Mr. Bishop has been helping us with this, is we're taking a look at all of the things that have to be done in order for somebody to chase their dream by launching their own business. The idea is for us to make it seamless and simple so that if somebody has just a little germ of an idea, we can help them throw a little water on it and help it grow. Now, the Chamber of Commerce and the Cunningham Center at CSU both have resources. So does the University of Georgia and Georgia Tech. They all have a small business advisory. But I get what you're saying, because there ought to be one number listed, and whether it's on the web page or somewhere where people can find it, where they can go to one distribution point and they listen to them on an intake perspective, find out where they are in their journey, what they need help with, and then set them up with the right person. It's a great idea, and it exists in certain forms now. I think what you're referring to, we could refine that a little bit and try to make it a little bit more clear. We'll work on that. And I'm going to ask Mr. Bishop get your contact information again, since I obviously didn't find it, but I will follow up with you. Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
My name's Jason. My comment is really just about the constant at council meetings talking about what we don't have money for. And I understand that the city struggles with their budget or whatnot, but sometimes you would think the city motto is we don't have money for that instead of we do amazing. Everything doesn't have to be a huge project, but something simple. I actually emailed Deputy City Manager about the entrance into Fort Benning That hasn't been pressure washed, I don't think, ever. It looks horrible. The Memorial Stadium, A.J. McClung Memorial Stadium, something simple as pressure washing, cleaning up weeds, picking up trash. Those things don't take millions of dollars. And you're talking about stuff for kids or even the homeless to do. Other cities use homeless to pick up trash and clean up things. The better an area looks, like I said, the more people are proud of it, and I just think it helps out.
Jason, I was going to ask you if Mr. Bishop gave you that question to ask, because we talk about this a lot in our office, and we share maybe not so much we don't have money for that piece, but we do talk about the way our city looks. And when visitors come into our community, we know what we want, what image we want to present, because listen, I've been talking to CEOs, and they say one of the things that they have a challenge with is recruiting people to Columbus. And the interesting thing is, if they get them to Columbus, Georgia, if they can get them to visit here, they got them. They will not leave. They want to go to work in this community. But the challenge that they have is trying to sell it when people are Googling different things, and you see things published in different periodicals, that it just doesn't paint the kind of picture that we want to paint, because we do know, after all, the more negative sometimes a story is, the more clicks it gets, and that's what drives a lot of this, I'm afraid. But when they do come here, it's important that they see clean streets, that they see, by the way, the pressure washing of that entrance to Fort Benning is scheduled. They are going to do it. We've talked to them about that, and they are going to get that cleaned up. But we were talking about Golden Park. Golden Park is an historic site. We've got the world coming to Columbus again. The International Softball Federation is bringing international softball back to South Commons in June, and it'll be the first time that organization has hosted anything, I think, in the United States since the Olympics in '96. Now, they're going to want to go look at where the Olympics were played. The Olympics were played at Golden Park. We're doing a lot of work right now. The Sports Council is doing an amazing job getting all of the stuff at South Commons ready. But Golden Park is the same kind of situation that you mentioned out at the Fort Benning entrance. It needs pressure washing. There's railings that need paint. There's just a lot of little things that we need to do, because we haven't had a baseball tenant there in quite a while. So those are the kind of things, you're exactly right. And we do need to find the resources to be able to make sure that our community presents itself in a positive way. So and by the way, we do amazing with very little resources. But thank you for your comments. We agree with you. I'm getting too close to that, I guess. Anybody else have something they want to mention? Yes, ma'am. I want to make sure everybody's had their chance first. But yes.
Here I go again.
Okay.
Downtown Columbus is beautiful. I like what you've done with the regentrification. Mm-hmm. Are there any other areas that you all plan, or is that just all private money that's doing that?
No, but I appreciate the question, because I think one of the things that's exciting about Columbus right now is it almost parallels the original planned city of Columbus, which started right by the river downtown because it was a mill town, needed the water. And then it started spreading out in north, east, didn't go very far west, but it went south. So what we're starting to see now, there's initiatives right now going up north on 2nd Avenue corridor, the Mill District. Already stuff we just broke ground on a new apartment complex for seniors in an area that has had nothing going on. We have an incredible opportunity to tie Midtown in with the uptown area by working on the 13th Street Viaduct and corridor as it leads back into the commercial area of Midtown. We have an opportunity, I think, with the Liberty District. This theater, this historic theater that we're in right now, what an amazing opportunity. If we can get some energy moving behind the development in the Liberty, and I think we're going to have a chance to do that, because you've read about the 4-year medical school. Mercer we've got 2 years right now. In addition to bringing about 90 really good paying jobs, it's also going to have, ultimately, about 250 students. And where that building is located is right at the northern tip of the Liberty District. So when you start getting critical mass in that area, you're going to start generating not just a need, but a desire to put retail, restaurants. And I think you're going to see the same type of development. We've got Westville, bookending on the southern end of our city down there at South Lumpkin Road. We've got one of the best pieces of commercial real estate in the city of Columbus, right on the corner of Veterans and Victory Drive, right across from the Civic Center. It's controlled by the Housing Authority and the city of Columbus. So we have an opportunity to be very intentional, very selective about what goes in there to bookend with Westville that hopefully spurs some growth and some infill going towards each other and closing that in. I think we're in a position right now for South Columbus and for the around the Mill District area. I think over the next 5-6 years, we're going to see some really good things in there. So plus we've got the call center that is going to hire 600 people right there, and it repurposed an old dark store front. I think it's the Winn-Dixie on Buena Vista Road, and the neat thing is they're hiring people from that area. Think what that's going to do when you've got people that are going to go grab lunch. You should start getting some retail stuff set up there too. So, and I didn't mention, they passed me a note, don't forget about the film fund. The film fund, listen, I think film is an amazing deal. When I first heard of the Camera Ready Columbus, when Peter Bowden was pitching that to us, I thought, yeah, movies, who's going to do a movie in Columbus? The film industry in Georgia is a $9.5 billion with a B, $9.5 billion industry. Atlanta's always going to garner like the lion's share of that. And Savannah has some uniqueness to it that is with the ports and with the coast that's going to put them in good stead. But we've been told that Columbus has some unique geographic features that make us really, really attractive to people wanting to do projects. Jeffrey Stepakoff, the Georgia Film Commissioner, had told Peter Bowden, who was getting our film commission up and running, he could come up with a film fund of $5 million. He would make sure that we got 10 projects over 3 years, and we could become a major player. Now, the film fund is to offset the additional cost of bringing workers into Columbus to do the filming, to work on the picture. Our private sector, over just a matter of months, raised $5 million. So we now have that film fund. We're beginning to have communication with Jeffrey Stepakoff in Atlanta about getting these projects. The W.C. Bradley Company donated a building out that is now called Flat Rock Studios. Columbus State University offers a 2-year Nexus degree so that you can, in 2 years, graduate right into a job in the film industry, and they're starting at $65,000 to $80,000 a year on those jobs. And once CSU builds that critical mass, and we have 200 or 300 students that have graduated from that Nexus program, we won't need the film fund for the use that it's currently being utilized, because we won't need to offset people coming in because we'll have them here. So it's exciting. There's a lot of exciting things, and I tell you, if a young person wants to go, wants a really good, exciting job, get in that Nexus program. It's a 2-year program. You get a certificate and you're employable the minute you walk out. So anyway, sorry, I get a little excited about that stuff. Yes, ma'am.
I want to piggyback on what you were saying about the property, the fund for demolition. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
The code says that property owners of historic properties or properties within historic districts shall not allow their buildings to deteriorate by failing to provide ordinary maintenance or repair. I hope you came down 8th Street on your way here today and saw our most recent roof cave-in in the Liberty District.
I did not.
Well, I hope you go home that way.
I will leave that way. And look.
I hope you go home that way. I'm very concerned about historic properties that are being allowed to deteriorate in our historic districts, in the Liberty District, in the original historic district, and in Uptown, like the YMCA. I feel like the city needs to do something about this. We cannot lose another wonderful building like we lost our Carnegie Library. Now we stand to potentially lose our YMCA if something doesn't happen soon. I want to know what the city's going to do about this.
Well, the city, I think, works with the with BIHAR, Board of Historic and Architectural Control.
I've been to BIHAR months in a row with these properties.
And I really, all I can tell you is that there are codes that tells people they have to maintain them. And by and large, our historic areas are pretty well kept. But the ones that are not, John Hutchison gets called on those, and they're required to either fix them up or they'll end up being sprayed with a big red D. And then whatever goes back in its place will have to use architecturally compatible materials. Well, I will take a look at 8th Street, and we'll look at the other that you're talking about, and we'll see. All right, I'll get them. In fact, Mr. Bishop will get them from you. Just a second. This is Mr. Lawrence. Yes, ma'am.
Honorable Mayor, thank you all your staff, for all the work that has taken place since your 77 days in office. I have a connection with the City Council and yourself. I appreciate everything. We recently had Martin Luther King paved. I suffer with a little anxiety, and when I ride down Martin Luther King, I know it's not my little red truck I ride in, because too many people are complaining about whatever company paved Martin Luther King, they put grooves in the road. Okay, that don't ring a bell to some people. You ride down Martin Luther King, it's like you're on a bad, uneven road. And we just paid hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to get that paved. And I think the company should be, and maybe the city need to ride on that, or somebody else might be able to address this, and maybe I haven't heard it yet. And say, well, that's not anything big. But the landscaping is not taken care of either. With the old Southern foods, where you just planted trees, some of them are dying because they're not being watered. And if, you know, citizens of this city, they see that and they want to, you know, they probably want to ask the same question that I will ask. Is that going to be addressed? Because it's wild grass growing up. If we rode over there right now, you say, oh, we need to take care of that. And maybe after the night, it might be lawnmower crews over there taking care of it. But you know, that's something that I just think, if you just rode in your vehicle and drove up Martin Luther King coming back towards downtown from Brewer Elementary, we would be surprised at how that road was not properly fixed, unless that was a design to run water off. I don't know if that's the case.
I don't think it's finished yet.
Oh, it's at it.
Let me ask our engineer.
Thank you. It is finished. The asphalt is finished. And I'm not aware that there was any grooves, so we'll have to go back. I know that part of the issue is the road that was under it had some surface problems, and we did look at some of those before we resurfaced it. One thing that we find on a lot of the older roads is they're concrete roads, and what happens when you put asphalt on top of a concrete road, the joints do come through sometime. So we'll relook at it and see if we need to go make some repairs.
Thank you. Anybody else? Oh, yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Eva Smith. What procedures are needed to get a turning lane? This is on St. Mary's Road, just before you turn to go on I-185, so that, for example, especially when the traffic is really busy and a person is going straight, but yet someone behind them needs to turn to go to I-185, they're held up. And I think the other exits have that, and I think our exit is the only one that does not have that. So what would be the procedure to get that done?
St. Mary's Road, I think, is a state road. We'll take a look at that, and we can talk with DOT as well and try to see if we can try to ask them to take a look at that and see if we can justify that.
Oh, and while I'm up.
Yes, ma'am.
Excuse me. And I don't know what you call it, but I guess it's the overpass for the, what we have, the trains, you know, the train stop us on Buena Vista. And I think you're supposed to be doing like some overpass or something. What is the status on that?
It's been fully funded, and I think they've got the plans completed. I think they're in the process of doing some
At this time, we're under right-of-way acquisition, so we should be letting construction sometime by the end of this year, first of next year. So it's in process, but we're under acquisition of property to complete that.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Is there anybody else before we start circling back to, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Virginia Dickerson, and I just want to know if, I don't know the decision that has been made reference this downtown government center.
Mm-hmm.
What are we doing with that? Are we going to tear it down? Are we going to renovate it? And if you are tearing it down, will you take it out of downtown? That really is a beautiful building downtown, and I would really hate to see it leave.
I hear you, and we have had 3 public meetings, and I think we may have one more planned, and what we've been doing is we've actually given the people that attend those meetings an opportunity to vote on the 4 different options, and options are, you pretty succinctly described them. Some, they vary between using the existing site or moving to another site and either keeping one or both of the buildings or completely rebuilding one or both of the buildings. It hasn't been decided yet. I can tell you where we are on the process. Once we get a clear feel for what the public, their tolerance is for what they would rather see, then we're going to go, we've got some consultants that we're going to have take a look at how that would play out, what the cost would be, what the timeline would be, because you've got 2 different functions. You've got general government in that building and you have the judiciary in that building. And the courts have grown to a point where they probably need their own building. So that's one of the things that is going to have to be decided, and then try to put a price tag on not only what it would cost to build the building, but is there relocation costs? Because if you're going to rehabilitate that building, strip it down to the concrete and start over, you've got some pretty good size relocation costs, because you've got to get temporary housing for all the people that are in that building now. If you tear it down, that's going to be a big ticket item to try to demolish that building. So far, in the 3 meetings that we've had, overwhelmingly, people have said they would rather see it located off that site, but still near the downtown area. So a couple of suggestions have come that maybe you attach the judicial building to the jail, if we could make that work, so you'd have a safer environment, a more seamless environment for our sheriff and the people that work the jail in transporting prisoners for court. There have been some suggestions on the general government side to try to turn that cost into an investment by putting it somewhere, maybe the Liberty. Maybe you put it right here so you're still close enough to downtown, but now you've got, we talked about Mercer Medical, but if you put another 800 heads in that area, now you've got 1,000 people in the Liberty. I almost guarantee you some pretty sincere efforts at trying to invest in this area. So to me, I think if you're going to spend the money, you should do it in the form of an investment where you've got an opportunity to reap a return, which would be some of the impact from economic development that follows that area. Then if you did that, then you'd be able to stay in the tower while you're constructing whatever building is out there. But right now there's no price tag because we haven't really identified what it's going to look like. Once we identify which option, they'll start looking at designs, the needs for space. We'll listen to consultants from judicial construction companies that will specifically deal with constructing courtrooms and facilities for judges. And once we have all of that, the council will have to approve the process itself and hiring those consultants. And then once that's done, our job, I feel, is to get really, really good information to the council so they can make a really, really good decision. But that's kind of where we are. There's still a lot left to do. And by the way, once we pick which route we're going to go, and we begin to do the studying for how much it's going to cost, we're going to go back to the public. And we're going to make sure they're involved every step of the way as we move towards the finish line of this thing. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
authority. And also another thing, I had read in the paper back over last year that you all would be demolishing Chase Apartments. Is that still, you recall that?
I do, and yes, ma'am, that is going to happen. That's because when HUD did an inspection, they saw that they did not like how close those apartments were to that
electricity
power station. Yes, ma'am. So that is going to happen, and they're working on some different options, but there is an opportunity for perhaps to keep them in the same area, keep the housing in the same area, make it nice market rate housing, and move it a little bit north up there around the old Bibb City area,
so to go further up 2nd Avenue?
Yes, ma'am. That's one of the options. And your question on where is the new apartments going? Yes, ma'am. It's on 38th Street, I believe, and it's right next to Fox Elementary, the old is it Meritus Mill? Yeah, the old Meritus Mill site. And it is a public-private partnership being driven by NeighborWorks and a whole consortium of different lenders that specialize in trying to make loans for affordable housing.
So how big is the complex, and how would the seniors be able to get in that place?
I don't know.
You aren't that far out yet on it.
No.
I'll come back to you.
We just turned the dirt, but I will tell you, you'll hear plenty about it because it's very exciting. We're really excited about the transformative effect that is likely to have. I mean, if nothing else, it's going to make things safer for the children that are going to Fox Elementary when they've got a quality housing development right next to there as a buffer for a lot of that bad stuff that's been happening in there. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Before I get to Mama Love, is there anybody else that hasn't spoken that would like to? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for coming out, hanging out with us.
Yes, sir. Anytime.
Just quickly, I've always been curious about how the city awards contracts to construction. Those that have gone through the process and all that. How does that actually work? And part of the question is there any type of diversity initiative to ensure that those that are being awarded contracts from the city come from various backgrounds, ethnicities, et cetera?
That's a great question. And I'll tell you, I'm glad you asked it, because if I'm a private businessman and I'm using my money, I can hire whoever I want, however I want. I can just like the trucks, if I wanted to hire them. When we're spending taxpayers' money, we have to make sure that we've got a very thorough, a very carefully vetted process that is fair to everybody. We do give points and award certain, I guess, points on a grading scale for people that involve minority businesses. But we have a procurement process that's operated through our finance department. If you've seen a council meeting lately, you've probably heard more about it than you ever thought you wanted to know. But we actually had our internal auditor take a look at that process, because we hadn't done that in a while, to make sure we're doing it the most fair way possible. So it's a very thorough process. The candidates have to be qualified as per a written list of qualifications. And then we have a procurement, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a committee, evaluate, thank you. Big words, that's why I couldn't remember. Evaluation committee that takes a look at those, and they come from different areas of expertise throughout the city, and they all grade each one of the proposals. And we try to use the most fair method possible. But it's very careful and very deliberate and very intentional. Anybody else? Mama Love, I think we're back to you.
I just want to say this. I want you to look at me closely. Sometimes I can walk, sometimes I'm in the bed. Okay? Look at me. I don't have much hair. Okay? I don't have hardly no teeth. Okay? I'm fat. I'm black. But when we sit at home and don't go to your city council meeting, you're doing an injustice not only to yourself, but in my opinion, this is just my opinion, to God. Start going to your city council meeting. God don't care what you wear there. God don't care how you look. But start going to your city council meeting, okay? And now I want to say something that I hope, because it won't cost you any money, but I have seen it happen over the years since I started going. I think it was 2015 or 2016. And we spoke about this. I am not happy. We as citizens have 2 times in a month to speak. Now we're getting less time. I would like for all my councilmen and you, Mr. Hughley, and everybody else to sit up there, don't take off on those 2 meetings and go somewhere else. They're scheduled meetings, you know when they're going to be and everything. But it's not fair that we have only 2 times to speak in front of you, and then sometimes 3 and 4 you are missing. So please take that in consideration. You know when the meetings are. I know when the meetings are. Okay?
Yes, ma'am, you do.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Mama Love. And I appreciate that shameless plug, because that, I don't know if we can fit everybody in there, but I will tell you this, your point is well taken. The main word you'll hear from our administration over the next 4 years is collaborate. And that doesn't just mean with partners like CSU and the River Center and Fort Benning. It means with the neighborhoods. It means with the people who live in this community. City manager and I have talked with a lot of the department heads, and the cool thing is they all buy in. We have one thing. We do provide services, but we have one product that we sell, and that's customer service. We should be treating our citizens like customers. And we've talked about this. There's a lot of words in the English language. We think our folks can get by without one of them, and that one is no. If you say no, it needs to be followed with a but. Our job is to try to serve the citizens of this community and try to help you achieve the quality of life that you want to achieve for you and your family. Now, to do that, we need to be a little more innovative. If it doesn't fit neatly into the guidelines of what we have been allowed to do, then we need to look for different ways to do it. If you've got a problem and it's serious, chances are somebody else has had that issue too. So thank you, Mama Love. I've watched the council meetings, and I will say this, sometimes your counselors are not there because they're on educational trips going through GMA and ACCG, and they're sharpening their skills so they can do a better job for Galileo, for their constituents. But don't forget, you can contact any and all of them by email. You can call them. Most of them publish their cell phones. I publish mine. So if you want to get in touch with them, you can. But I do understand what you're saying. There's times when you want to stand there in front of the meeting, in front of the cameras, in front of the other citizens, and make your statement or ask your questions. You should have the right to do that. And we did reduce the time just a little, not much, by 2 minutes. So, but we do our best to try to accommodate those that have comments. Any other questions or any other comments? Yes, sir.
April 20th, there's a citywide neighborhood cleanup, so if you could pass it along, go out in your neighborhoods, pick up some trash, make it look a little better. That's for everybody, not just for the city. So April 20th, I think it's from 9 to 11 or 10 to 12. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head, but pass it along.
Jason, thank you. And we're going to get your number because I like that. I like getting the neighborhood cleanups. We appreciate it. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, there's a lot of road construction between Fort Benning Road, Casita Road, and Brennan Road. What I'd like to know is that the actual roundabout? And if it is, what's going to happen to the part of Brennan Road and Casita Road where the traffic light is?
I'm going to get Pam.
So there is going to be a roundabout. We're realigning Brennan Road and Fort Benning Road, and there'll be a roundabout at that location, and that's what all the construction is right there. So there will be a roundabout at that location.
So what's going to happen to the? Thank you. So what's going to happen to the part where the traffic light is from Brennan Road? Are they going to block that part of the road off?
Yes, it'll be rerouted to the roundabout.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. Any other questions? Anything else? We got 15 minutes. I don't know any good songs. Who we have? Yes, ma'am. Hang on just a second. We'll get her first.
Thank you. I don't know if anything could be done about this, but the littering, people throwing trash out of their cars, and I don't know why they do that. They could just take a plastic bag and keep it inside the car and put the trash in it, and when they get wherever they're going, they could do. I mean, as soon as people pick up trash, you go back and the trash is back out there again. Now, they used to have signs that said, I mean, I know if you litter or whatever, you would be fined. I don't know if that would deter anybody, but it might deter some of them or whatever. But I think it's just ridiculous.
I agree with you. I actually had somebody make what I thought was a great recommendation. They said that a lot of the stuff they see is from fast food restaurants. And they actually talked about trying to find a way to raise money to ask the fast food restaurants to give out a litter bag with every order. So when they come through, ask them to take the bag and just put their refuse in there when they're done. So I don't know, maybe we'll try that. But I agree. I think one of the biggest challenges we face is trying to, those of us that take pride in the community, trying to encourage those around us to do the same. And you know, we also had a problem. At one point, people from like environmental court and even recorder's court, they would have alternative sentencing. And we had sometimes 15, 20 folks a day out there picking up trash by the road. For some reason, over the last couple of years, it's dwindled to about 5. So we're in the process of talking with the judges to think creatively and try to maybe consider some alternative sentencing and limit it to trying to help beautify the community. And I know Gloria Weston Smart is here. Keep Columbus Beautiful. Does an amazing job of trying to keep that. Yeah, give her a hand. But yeah, so there's always initiatives like that going on. We just need to try to encourage our neighbors and our friends and coworkers to participate so that they'll develop that sense of responsibility to try to keep the community clean. Yes, sir.
Hello, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to ask a question regarding, and it's a planning question, so you or someone else from the Planning Commission.
So he knew right away that was going to be over my head. He said,
oh, right.
Planning question.
Right. Well, I am interested in this growing issue of the housing crisis in this country, and where Columbus can also lead in that regard, not only for mitigating that crisis, but also to curb emissions and carbon emissions. There are 2 issues regarding that one of them is zoning. Well, actually, this is a big zoning question. Single-family zoning, or single-family occupancy zoning, where we zone a whole area for single-family residency or homes that will fit for one family instead of, say, a duplex or a fourplex. What can we do to encourage more duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes, and building those more in Columbus in order to reduce the number of people who may be homeless or who may not be able to afford housing that is within the parameters that are set by our public mass transits. Also, parking minimums. How can we curb those? Because they also help contribute more towards the artificial raising of property value. And what can we do to electrify our public transit, especially our buses as well? Thank you.
Wow. I'm not even sure who to try to pass that off to. No, great questions. I'll start with the duplexes. I think that if you're talking about government trying to drive that, I think the market typically is going to drive what people are going to be able to find tenants for and how they think it'll work. But I think you had another piece of that, and that was for transitional housing for some of the homeless. And listen, that's something we talk about all the time. Pat Frey with Home for Good does an amazing job, and through the Housing Authority, when they go to an encampment where people are living in tents, maybe out out behind some neighborhood, they can get vouchers and they can get them in a home. They can get them in transitional housing. But we've also had some creative ideas. The Community Warriors came forward, and they were asking about the possibility of some of the tiny houses to use as transitional housing for homeless, and they were focused on homeless veterans, as a matter of fact. And you know, the challenge with that, because we saw that modeled in Denver, and one of the challenges they face is a similar one that we would face, and that is that there's a requirement that it can't stay there more than, I think, 3 months at a time. So they actually, in an industrial area, they moved that housing, the tiny house area around. So I think that there are some options that need to be on the table. And we've talked with Pat Frey, we've talked with Laura Johnson and with Pam Hodge about the legal issues surrounding putting homes well below what other homes are. You couldn't really do that in a residential area. It would need to be like it is in Denver, and maybe an industrial or manufacturing area. And it's a great concept. And then tell me, what were the other question you asked?
Parking minimums. Oh, sorry. Parking minimums in the area in Columbus, where a business, for example, is required to have like a certain amount of parking spaces. Right. And then also, what can we do to electrify our public transit through the MTA, I think, or Metra?
Yeah, I think the Metra, and you're talking about by electrifying, you're talking about actually turn them into electric vehicles. Right. Or alternative fuel. We do use some hybrids now. We've got some hybrid buses, and we have looked at, I know the sheriff's office kind of led the charge at one point with propane on the vehicles. So we do look at ways to try to create alternative fuel options for all of our transportation. But the busing in the Metra, they're such big ticket items that we would have to be very, very certain that they were durable, that they wouldn't create a maintenance nightmare, because we have enough problems as it is in trying to keep all those routes running at one time. So yeah, thanks for the questions. Did I see somebody, was there somebody in the back that had something? All right, we got about 10 minutes left. If you ask me an easy one, I can probably make that last. Do what now? Oh, okay. The city manager, in fact, I might let you come up here and talk about that. We had a presentation. See, be careful what you ask. Come on. We had a presentation done by Aretha Hollowell on critical vacancies, and for those of you that missed it, we talked about, it really is sort of a result of the impact of a good economy, and I think maybe it's just a generational deal, because we've got a lot of those vacancies. I'm gonna let you. Aretha's right here.
Well, no, actually I'm looking around for department heads who have critical vacancies, and I'm going to ask you to come stand with me. Rosa Evans, if she's still here, the sheriff, the chief, the warden, engineering, public works. Where are you? The economy is good, at this point, and most people who want to work, have jobs, and there are some who want to work who don't have jobs. And so, and I'm going to ask you to come to the middle so we'll get away from that speaker, fire chief, but, it's 7:22, and you got about 30 seconds to tell these people who you're looking for, what you want, and so you're going to pass the mic, but critical vacancies.
Two of our most critical vacancies are garbage truck drivers, which requires a CDL, and we always have openings in that arena, and some of them very long term. We also have a pretty significant shortage of mechanics, and we've got a large fleet to take care of. We can start someone out at lower levels and have them move on up, and we can provide some training, but we need somebody who's at least a good backyard mechanic so that we can get them trained up.
So know that they're hiring.
Oh, we're hiring, definitely. And you need to get those applications online. You can go on the city website and put those applications in, and we'll be happy to talk to the applicants. If they've got some mechanical ability, yes. No college degree required.
Thank you. Jeff Meyer, I'm the chief of Columbus Fire and EMS. We do have 20 openings. I understand today we have 21, one additional since Tuesday. I'm a little biased, being that I've been with the department for 37 years. I think we have the best department in the city. Sorry, I'm sure. No, thanks for that. We are hiring firefighter EMTs. So if you got them, city's website, apply.
Yeah, looking for a job, call on us.
Okay, and at Metro, we're hiring mechanics. We've got 3 vacancies, and in a month, we'll have the maintenance manager's position. And we also are hiring bus operators with commercial driver's license. We have 20 vacancies right now.
20
and so,
bus operators?
Yes.
I'm Ricky Bora, and I'm the chief of police. We're 84 vacancies. At the end of next week, we will be at 87 vacancies. People are finding other jobs or going to other places. It's hard to hold them in the house. I'm looking for individuals with a high school education that can pass a background, a psychological, a polygraph examination, a financial investigation, and can run a PT course. And that'll get you in the door for the process to get started. I need 87 people, and I'll take them tomorrow.
Donna Tompkins, Muskogee County Sheriff. As of today, we are approximately 40 at critical vacancies, 20 correctional officers, 20 deputy sheriffs. To be a correctional officer, usually most people come to us as correctional officers. You have to pass a PT test, a background check, a drug screen. But what do we need? We need honest, hard-working, committed people that want to come to work every day, because that's what we need. And we've got 40 job openings, so send them our way. Go to our website, go to Indeed, go to Government Jobs. We're out there on all those. High school diploma, get you through the door, $36,200 starting salary.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Sheriff. Sherman Thomas, I'm the assistant warden at Muskogee County Prison. Of course, we have openings too. We have about 7 open positions, high school diploma. If the guys go on the website, you go on the city website and put in. We've been having a difficult task with staff. Staff come, then they leave, and we just have such a high turnover. So if you know people that's interested, you know, most of y'all know me, just come out, call, give us a call, you can give my secretary a call, and we'll get your application. All right? Thank you.
I'm Donna Newman. I'm with the Director of Engineering, and we have really had a hard time hiring some engineers. One is salary. The economy's good, so engineers are working, designing projects in other locations. I currently have a traffic engineer on staff, but we searched for over 2 years, almost 3 years, in order to get one. And we know that he's short-term. His wife is out at Fort Benning and will be leaving in another couple of years. So we decided to go ahead and hire him. At least we could get some things done in the interim. So we have a lot of turnover. It's a high-tech department where we depend on people with technical skills, and so we lose a lot of people to the private sector, so we always have a lot of vacancies.
Okay, and I think someone wanted to know the qualifications for a firefighter EMT.
Of course, high school education. We're going to ask the candidate to pass a background check, have a good, clean record, have good personal traits, and there's a lot other that are on the website. College entrance exams, really need that information. Candidate physical abilities test, it's very challenging. All that information is on our website. You can go to the city's website, go to departments, select Columbus Fire and EMS, and get all that information from that site.
Human resources, would you wave your hand? There's a table over there. If you know someone who's looking for a job, stop by that table. If those people you know don't have the ability to go online, tell them to call 311 and let them put them in touch with human resources, and they can assist them on how to apply for a job. We have excellent benefits, health insurance, life insurance, you name it. pension plan, retirement plan. And so please know that we have jobs down at City Hall. Get your friends, come out, and go after these jobs. Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Yes, sir. Now, how about that? We go from Let's Talk Columbus to a job fair. We're going to wrap it up. I just want to thank all these department heads and all of these employees that are here tonight. I want to urge you to stick around. If you have a question, ask them. I want to thank Councilor House, Councilor Huff. I want to thank Councilor Woodson, whose district we are in. But most of all, I want to thank all of you for participating and for being here. We will we'll be publishing the next ones. I can't remember when the next one is. Yeah, that's all right. We'll get it out to you. But thank y'all so much for participating. Y'all stick around. There's plenty of sandwiches.